don't need tire section because I'm not too concerned that you know the definitions of rational numbers and integers and so on and so forth. What you do need to know is how to deal with negative numbers, how to put them on the number line. We'll deal more with negative numbers a little bit later on, but for right now, I want to make sure you know on a number line we have 0. Moving to the left of 0, we get into the negative numbers. -1, so you can see that, -2, -3, -4, -5. As we get further to the left of 0, those numbers get lower and lower and lower, but their actual absolute value gets bigger. So we need to go outward from 0 when we're dealing with the number line. And then the positive numbers are on the other side. And fractions of those numbers, so I'm going to make a larger one. So I have 0, -1, -2, -3, +1, +2, +3. If I have 1/2, that's going to go exactly between 0 and 1. If I have -1/2, that's going to go between 0 and -1. If I have -3/4, that's going to go halfway between -1/2 and -1. So it's important to note the closer you get to, like if you have -1 and 7/8, you're going to be really, really close to -2. So it's important to note that and be aware of how to put those on the number line. I also want to show you how to put a rational number as a decimal, so a fraction as a decimal essentially. If I have 3/4 and I divide 3 by 4, I get 0.75. I can do this either on the calculator or I can do this in using long division. I'll show you both, even though you'll probably use the calculator. 3/4, 3 divided by 4. Remember, it's always the top divided by the bottom, and that gives you 0.75. If I look at this as 3 divided by 4, obviously 4 doesn't go into 3, so I put a 0 there. 4 goes into 37 times with change, so that gives you 7 times 4 is 28. That decimal needs to carry up there. So I'm left with, sorry, not dealing with that. With 2, add another 0 there, drop that down, and that gives me 0, so 0.75. We're not going to be doing that much most of the time. I'm going to have you leave your answers as fractions as opposed to decimals. The other thing I want to hit has to do with inequality symbols. So I have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and then of course greater than or equal to. So those are my inequality symbols. And this has to do with recognizing when a number is bigger than another one. So for less than, -2 is less than 3. -2 is also less than 1 because it's to the left, pointing to where you can't see, of the other one. So -2 is less than 1. So it's important to look at the symbols there. Greater than 5 is greater than 2. Negative 5 is greater than negative 7. So it's important to note where they would fall on the number line. The or equal to simply indicates that you could have 5 is less than or equal to 5, because they are equal, and that or equal to keeps 5 as a possibility. Whereas I could not put 5 is less than 5 because it's obviously not. It's just equal to. So similar types of problems there. Lastly, absolute value has to do with how far a number is from 0. Finally, the absolute value. That is simply the distance from 0, and it is always positive. So I have the absolute value. That's what these brackets mean. Negative 3. So negative 3 is 1, 2, 3 from 0. So the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. If I have the absolute value of 4, go to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. My distance from 0 is simply 4. My absolute value of negative 10, and I'm kind of exaggerating those brackets a little bit. So negative 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's an absolute value of positive 10. Your answer, your distance, is always going to be positive, because whether it's above 0 or below 0, it's still the same distance. So that's 1.3 in a nutshell. There's not a whole lot to it. We will be using some of those concepts as we move forward.